What's up, ladies? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. This week, we're going to be jumping back into the series in kind of preparation for motherhood. I took a little break to talk about my conception stories and then spent some time talking about a really important topic, at least important to me, which is Black maternal health. If you haven't heard those episodes, definitely go back and listen to them because I think they're worth listening to. But yeah, so today we're going to be jumping back into that series where I'm talking about preparing for motherhood. And this episode is going to focus on more of an external part of preparation, which is really narrowing down what kind of parent you want to be with your partner. So I'm going to be talking about parenting styles, the values that you guys are going to choose to represent in your family, and then just dealing with people outside of your marriage and outside of your family, like in-laws and, family friends and everything like that. So this is going to be a good one. I think this is one that people definitely don't talk about. So if you're someone who is in this phase, please, please, please listen to the entire episode. Okay, let's get into it. Before we get into the episode, I just wanted to do a check-in. I think it's important to continuously check in with yourself in, this preparation for going into a totally different world that you've never entered before. I wanted to say that you're doing a good thing. If you're listening to something like this and you are not pregnant yet, you're doing a great thing, because the reality is that the majority of women who are childbearing age know nothing about motherhood. It's why I have created this platform. This is why I spend so much time on it, because I was one of those women. I'm not judging you. I'm not judging those women, because I was definitely one of them. It's a major problem in our society that mothers are really underprepared for this really important job. So I just wanted to take the time to say good job, like great job, because you're doing an amazing thing by spending the time in reflection, in learning how to, think about things that you never had to think about before, and like actually figure out how you're going to apply it when you become a mother. So pat yourself on the back, give yourself a high five, a big hug, whatever you need to do, because you're doing a good thing. Okay. Now, moving into this episode, we're going to be talking about parenting. And again, this is going to be important for both of you. So it takes two to make a baby, and it definitely takes two or more to raise that baby. So in everything that I talk about today, it's really important for you to address it with your partner, and not just in one talk, but in many, many talks. So this might mean, having a conversation and then coming back to it a couple of days later or a couple of weeks later. This is something that is going to take a lot of time. And like, even when the baby actually gets here, you're going to be talking about it more. It's kind of like a evolving sort of thing, especially parenting styles. Like, you might go into it thinking that you want to be a gentle parent, for example, and then maybe you get a child that's like incredibly stubborn, and maybe they need a more authoritative parent. So, it's malleable for sure, but this is what we're going to be talking about. So since I brought up parenting styles, let's just start there. And, there's various styles out there, and I'm not going to like go into the specifics of them or define them. But generally what I mean is, what kind of parent do you want to be? And it's important to know what kind of parent your partner wants to be. And I'll just use us as examples. I would say that we are trying to be authoritarian. And basically what that means is that we don't want to be our children's friends. We want to be in the role of parent. We want them to understand that, we are in an authoritative role in their life. They need to respect us. They need to view us as parents. They need to, follow the rules that we set out, but we also allow them to have, autonomy, and we do allow them to speak their mind. Well, I say them, my daughter, my son is 8 months, but with my daughter, I feel like we definitely are a leader in her life, but she is not necessarily afraid of us. Like, we're not leading a, like internment camp or anything. We don't hit her ever. We try not to put her down or insult her or anything like that, like nothing degrading. It's very much, I'm your mother and you're my daughter. And that plays out in many different ways. Like, we definitely have fun. We have Friday dance parties, but this is just the way that Shane and I, my husband, this is the way that we like it. And this is the way that I think works for us. I have other friends out there who are definitely more gentle with their parenting. And so they want to be a little bit more friendly with their kids. And, it works for them. I think it just depends on what kind of person you are, what kind of person your partner is, and like what sort of boundaries you want to set with your kids. And, it's going to look different for every person. So, this is something to think about. I mean, you can use models. I think that's always a good idea. Like, I love the idea of mentorship. I don't think it happens enough in our society, like in this day. But if you have parents in your life, like whether it be your parents or uncles and aunts or family friends, like if there's a set of parents that you really, really love and you feel like they're doing a good job, there's no reason that you can't try to mimic that. I mean, you don't have to be them, but I think finding good examples is the best way to go about this, because you've never done it before and you could have ideas. And then when it happens, you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, this isn't working. The style that I thought I wanted to be or portray is not working. So I think it's a great idea to use real life models and see how it's kind of like playing out in their life. So, like if you have parents that you love, like maybe they're friends of yours and you like the way that they're parenting, pay attention to what their kids are doing and how their kids are growing. Are they doing well? Like, do they seem successful? Are they happy? Are they healthy? When you see how their children are behaving, then you'll know how their parenting style is going, like if it's successful or not. All right, so I'm going to move past that. So the first thing is parenting style. Now, going kind of along with that, the next thing is going to be, the values. I don't know what other way to say it, but like which values are going to be important to your family. And these are going to be things like what sort of moral code you guys use. I mean, you guys are probably already operating under some sort of moral standard now as a couple, but it's going to be really important to figure out what those moral standards are, because in your parenting, that's kind of what you're going to be instilling in your child. So I've already talked about the Bible and, biblical things. So I am a Christian. My husband is a Christian. We got married in a church. We dedicated our daughter. So like our values center around Christianity. It's really important to us. She has a little children's Bible. All of the things that have to do with Christianity, that's what we instill in our child. If you are from a different religion, then that is going to be something that you're going to want to be talking about with your spouse. Like, how are you going to instill this into your young children so that they can have this as their foundation, their identity, etc. Something else that could be important for you is kind of like the eating style that maybe you guys have in your home. So the type of food that you want to feed your children is going to be important. They're growing, they're developing. Is it important to you to give them like really healthy foods? Is this something that your whole family is going to embrace? Are you more lax with it? Do you not really care so much about the things that they're eating? I mean, it's silly to think about, but these are the things that you will encounter fairly quickly quickly. Like babies start to eat around 6 months. So with your first kid, within 6 months, you're going to have to figure out like, what kind of food do I want to give this baby? And it's always easier to have it in your head ahead of time, because when you become a new mom, like life is just hitting you hard and fast and you're in survival mode. You're probably not sleeping as much. And so like something as simple as what kind of food am I going to feed the baby may be silly now, but in the moment you're like, what am I going to do? Like I'm supposed to start feeding this kid something other than milk. So just having kind of a little bit of a talk about it now is going to be really helpful. Just generally, something else that you can be thinking about in terms of values are kind of the goals that you have for your family as a whole, but definitely your goals for your kids. Now, I'm not talking about like one day I want my kid to be the president, but more so just generally, like, are you guys a really athletic family? Do you like music? Are you artistic? Like, what are the things that y'all like to do? And what are the things that you would like to see your kids kind of fulfill? Like, I'm not talking about living vicariously through them, but, you know, it's good to think about like, you know what? Football is really important to me. So, and football is really important to my spouse. And we got married, you know, at a football field or whatever. I'm being oddly specific here, but if there is something that is really important to y'all that you want to continue to kind of sow into and take care of and grow within your family and like grow within your kids, think about that now, because like I said, kids grow so fast. It seems silly to think about before you even have them. But I'm telling you, time flies once that baby gets there. And the next thing you know, they're like 3 years old and you're like, do I put them in karate? Do I put them in soccer? Do I want, you know, gymnastics? Like whatever. You start to have to think about those things fairly quickly. And if you've never really thought about it before, it could be overwhelming. Like, this may not be the case for everyone, but I'm just throwing out these ideas because as a mother, I've encountered them, and then having mother friends and like parent friends overall, these are the things that we talk about in our circles that maybe someone who doesn't have kids yet would just kind of tune out, that I think is really worthy of having talks beforehand, because we all have just been figuring this out along the way. And wouldn't it be great to kind of think about it ahead? Okay, so we've talked about parenting style. I'm touching on values. I think this kind of goes along with the umbrella of values. And since I brought up friends and friend circles, just figuring out what kind of person you are, what kind of person your spouse is when it comes to other people. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? What are they? Do you guys really love having other people around? Do you like having other people around all the time? I think this is another area that kind of trips people up when they become parents because they hadn't talked about it before. But boundaries are going to be really important to establish early and effectively when it comes to other people around your children. I think about it from a safety perspective. So like you need to be very careful the type of people that you bring around your children, whether it be because maybe they're not good with taking care of kids, they don't know how to, or maybe they're like, unsafe in ways that I don't necessarily want to talk about on this podcast when it comes to children, if you know what I mean. And so you want to be very selective with the type of people that you're around, just in general. Like, you know what, if you got crappy friends, get rid of them. But you want to be selective when it comes to your kids. And if your partner is like a super extrovert and like is super lackadaisical when it comes to people visiting them, for example, so like if they have friends who just show up to your house uninvited and like that's totally fine. If you're someone who's not okay with that, I think you need to address it now. So like I've had a friend who does have a spouse who has friends who like just show up and she hates it. And like, it's such a thing that, she loves the friend, but like if you're a mom and you have small children and you're not getting sleep, and then you have a friend that just kind of shows up out of the blue, who's not a parent, who's not there to really help any sort of situations, like that can be really frustrating. And so I've seen like real world examples where those boundaries are kind of violated because they were never really established in the first place. And so those are things to talk about. Like if you have a friend list and you know, for example, that there's one friend on there that is like a habitual line stepper, then you need to start to figure out how to put that friend in their place now. Because when you are a, 3-week postpartum mother with a newborn and that friend shows up ready to like party and not help, it's not going to be good. So let's talk about that stuff before, because it will absolutely help you guys. It will spare you arguments. It will spare like resentment and all of these really negative emotions that are not helpful, especially in new parenthood. Something that I think about is that when you have someone in your life, like a friend of a partner, or maybe one of your friends, or maybe in-law or something like that, you want to know like who's going to address it and how they're going to address it. So we kind of do, if it's our family or our friend, then we're responsible for addressing whatever the issue is. So if it was, for example, my mother, I don't know, well, let's just say she's great, but like if it was my mother, then it's kind of on me to address it because number one, I know her better than he does. And I kind of know how to go about something in a way that gets the point across so that that boundary is no longer broken, but then also can still be respectful and like present it in a way that she understands. So if you guys have identified who those boundary breakers are ahead of time, then you can decide how to address it. Because if you are like, let's say it's your mother-in-law or something like that, and you're the mother, right? So you're the mother of the child, the wife, and then your mother-in-law. Okay. Now, you may not know your mother-in-law that well, but you are the more outspoken person in your relationship. If you guys decided ahead of time that that's okay and like you have that relationship with your mother-in-law, then you can be the one to address it. But I think it's important to just think about, because you don't want to be having unnecessary kind of like tension with your partner's people, so whether it be friends, family, or whatever, for no reason when they could very easily address it. So I guess it just depends on the circumstance, but it is something to think about. And while we're on that subject of in-laws, I wanted to talk about grandparents. We're going to finish with grandparents. So just to recap, we talked about parenting styles. We've talked about the different values that may be important for you guys to instill in your children. We talked about boundaries, and within this boundary conversation, grandparents is a great place to spend time on, because they're probably going to be a very large role in your child's life. I mean, I think it's really important for grandparents to be in their grandchildren's lives. Not everyone feels that way, and especially if you have a toxic parent, then maybe you don't want them to be in your child's life. But generally, grandparents are a major role in your life once you become a parent, and then your child's life. And because they are so significant for many different reasons, I think that it's good to think about how you're going to handle grandparents when the time comes. So I can look at it from many different angles. I think the first thing to always keep in mind is that, especially if you're Christian, if you're not, okay, maybe this isn't true, but I think generally it's important to remember that when you get married, or when you decide to be in lifelong relationship with someone to the point where you do make children, your partner should be number one, with the family being a close second, or like, maybe on equal playing field, I guess. So like your immediate family, so your partner, you, and your children, they should take priority over the other family. And this is something that I believe. I think that it's something that works like in nature, that if you prioritize your immediate family, things are going to get a lot easier, like with setting boundaries, especially with grandparents. And I say that because when you have like a laser focus where you have this core group of people who you're responsible for, a core group of people that you're going to advocate for, and all of those things, it becomes a lot easier because your foundation and like your vision is clear to set boundaries with grandparents. I'll use an example. If you're the mother of a child and you have a mother-in-law who comes to your house all the time, unannounced, maybe she gives unsolicited advice, maybe she's, critiquing your home, maybe she's critiquing your parenting style. So she's just stepping on all sorts of toes and crossing all sorts of boundary lines. If you and your partner haven't established that your family is number one, that you're number one, that his role is to protect you and advocate for you as his wife, and it doesn't matter against whom. So like, this is his mother we're talking about, right? He cannot have loyalty to his mother that is greater than to you, because that will cause issues. So if you guys have not established that boundary and he is not prioritizing you and his family, what's going to happen is that mother-in-law is going to continue to disrespect you. She's going to continue to cross lines. She's going to continue to cause angst between, number one, you and her, but she's also going to come between you and your partner, because y'all are going to inevitably have a tight, tense spot when it comes to her if that partner is not being on your team, if he's not advocating for you or starting that boundary, or, all of those things that would help to prevent animosity between you and your mother-in-law or animosity within the family. But if you guys did talk about that, then it would actually be pretty easy. I mean, you can't change, a fully grown adult, their behavior 100%. But if you and your partner have had that talk, then he would know off the jump, like, okay, I need to talk to my mom because she's doing this, this isn't right. And he already has that focus of, I need to be the bridge between my immediate family and then my extended family, between my immediate family and my parents, right? Like, and he would know that already. So if he saw a couple of slip ups, she did a couple of things, or you told him about those things, then he would immediately know it's time for me to step in. It's time for me to reiterate those boundaries that we already set, and really advocate for my wife and for my family in this moment. And it would leave you in a position where you don't have to address it, because he's already taking care of it. And ideally, things would get better over time. So that's the example. And I hope that makes sense. Just in general, when it comes to grandparents, I think something else to keep in mind. So you already are putting your family first, like your immediate family. You're already putting them first. You already have a foundation of the values that are important to you, the religion, the whatever, all of those things, they're already in place. You guys have a family identity. You have a parenting style, and now you just need to implement it. And when it comes to grandparents, it's important to keep in mind that they are in a support role. You're the leading actress. They're the supporting actress. They're the supporting actors. And whatever you say needs to be the rule. When it comes to your children, this should be a golden rule. Like, you are their parents. What you say goes at all times. They must do what you say. You don't have to do what they say. Okay? That's important. Grandparents have a lot of input, a lot of advice, wisdom, and all of those things can be really helpful if you ask for them, if you seek that out. But if you don't, and if you have a way that you want to, have your child be taken care of, what you want them to eat, sleep, all of the things, a grandparent's job is to do what you say to do. You're responsible for these children. They're not. They are on loan to them when you allow them to be in their space. But you are responsible for the outcome of that child, for better or for worse. So if you have specific things that you want to happen, the grandparent must obey that. It's important for you to it's hard to say that, and it's hard to implement, but when you have a strong foundation, it becomes a lot easier. If you're not really sure, like if you're just kind of hoping that they're going to help you figure out this, whole parenting thing, and you're just kind of following their lead, then of course it's going to be harder. The boundaries aren't going to be there and all those things. But it's a lot easier when you and your partner do have a clear vision for your family, because then all you have to do is say, these are the things that we're comfortable with. If you step outside of this, it's going to be bad. We don't want this. You can't do this. I hope that makes sense. And it kind of like, it has to follow a specific order, because I do feel like if you have a shaky foundation and a shaky vision, then it's going to be easier for boundaries to be crossed, because you don't really even have boundaries. It's like gray. It's more of a like doggy door than an actual like closed door. I don't know what kind of analogy to use, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like if you don't have any clear boundaries, then they're going to be easily broken. You're going to be easily upset by things. And it's going to be pretty unstable. So one last thing that I want to leave you with when it comes to grandparents, and something that my husband and I have adopted, is that it is a privilege for grandparents to see their grandchildren. Okay. Now, I don't want to hold them away from them, but they have to understand the privilege that it is to be in their grandchild's life. I fully stand on this, because if they don't acknowledge like, hey, I don't always get to be with my grandchild, I should do, what my children tell me to do, then they'll just run all over you. They'll take it for granted. They'll just believe that no matter what they do, they'll still get to be in your child's life. And that's just not true. At least not in my world. It's not true. Like if you were to adopt this model, I think you would see a drastic change in grandparents, in the sense like you're not holding the kids ransom or anything like that. But if, for example, you have a grandparent who maybe allows your children to eat things that you don't want them to eat, habitually doing things that that you don't want them to do, or that they know that you don't want them to do, now it's time to remove that child for some time, and for grandparent to understand, oh, wait, I don't just get access to them. So I need to do the right things in order to continue to have access to my grandchild. Sometimes we have to put them on punishment, y'all. And it's not punishing the child, right? They don't need to know, oh, your grandparent doesn't do this. No. We don't need to tell them any of this. But we also need for grandparents to respect and understand the boundaries and the values that you're trying to instill in your family. And if they cannot honor that, can't respect that, then they don't get access. And they don't get access again until they start to show that they can do those things. Does that make sense? I hope it does. All right. This episode is longer than I wanted it to be, but I'm glad that I talked about all of these areas, because again, it's something that we don't spend a lot of time on. I hope it was helpful for y'all. Please, please, please let me know. Give me feedback. This is the only way that I can improve and make the podcast better for the listeners. So I really appreciate any sort of feedback. At this point, I hope you know how to find me. I'm on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. It's Blossoming Mama 12. I have the same tag on Facebook, although I have to admit I'm not as active there. And I also have a YouTube channel, which has some fun videos here and there. And then it also has this podcast on there. Like, so if you can't listen through the Spotify app, this podcast is available on YouTube. And that's especially important if you want to share these episodes with others. Maybe they don't have Spotify. You can share the YouTube link with them, and that would be actually really helpful for me to get the word out and let other people know that this podcast exists. As always, I hope you guys are having a great week. It should be released on a Monday, so I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care of yourselves.